So getting into the features of the BL09, this does have multiple different modes. So turning on the light, here you will see it in the high mode. Now when you turn this on, it does have a green indicator light that will flash when the light is in the on position. And this has, you'll see, a reasonable hot spot and then some pretty good flood on the sides. Now these lights do have a small little clear plastic on the side. It is not additional LEDs, but it does allow some light from the main LED to spill out kind of sideways to help illuminate things to the side of you. And that's helpful. I guess in function, we'll see how this is once I get it mounted onto a bike. But in the meantime, we'll continue through the modes. So at this point, if you press the button once again, it will turn the light off. Now, if you want to get to the other modes, you can click the light on and quickly cycle between them. So medium, low. This is what they call power save. Now, this is a 50% flash, 100% flash, and then this is kind of like a dimming strobe. So it's an interesting kind of dimming strobe here. And then again, pressing it the last time it turns off, pressing it again back into the high mode, and we're kind of back to where we were. Now again, if you go long enough and leave this on the high mode and you basically don't push the button anytime within a couple of seconds of turning it on, at that point, once you press it, the light will go off. So anyhow, interesting functionality. You see here that strobe mode, which is kind of bizarre to me. I don't know. This is kind of like a bike function thing where, you know, to me, I don't know how much I would use all these different modes. I feel like for me, probably flashing in one regard if I was on a road bike, and then probably steady in the high mode if I was on a mountain bike or something like that. And that's, I guess, a point worth mentioning, which is, you know, the different functionality is going to matter depending on where you intend on using this light. So somebody who uses it in a road riding application may use it differently from somebody who uses it, say, for mountain biking or something like that. So having the different modes and a little bit of versatility is definitely a plus. And just finally, this BL09 has a maximum output of 350 lumens and has a maximum runtime of approximately 3 hours. And now for the BL12. Now this, when you press the button, you'll see that this really only has 3 modes. So press on, and then a press in between modes, and then off. So again, just a press, another press, another press, off. This to me is almost perfect for a bike light in terms of the functionality. Now this covers the 2 different genres. If you're, say, you know, riding at night and on a road bike, cool, you have your highlight and your low beam and then your strobe. So when it gets darker and you really want to kind of get yourself to more visibility with vehicles and you want to differentiate yourself, you know, from cars. So specifically with that strobe really being an indication to drivers that you're a bike and not another, call it, vehicle. So again, just perfect functionality in my opinion, where you have that high mode, the low mode, and then the strobe. It's an overall very simple design. Again, you end up with these little sort of clear plastic windows on the side that are, again, not additional LEDs, but they do cast light to the side. And you'll see here an overall nice even beam. I'll dim it down just a little bit so that you can see that there. So you end up actually with a little less hot spot than the BL09. It's a little bit more even, a little more floody, and I think that has to do with sort of the shape of the lens and the overall design. And then you also have, again, just these little clear plastic windows that are casting a bit of light to the side. So now in terms of the mounts, I'm kind of looking at this for the first time, and it appears as though this kind of slides on and indexes into place. So yes, pretty nice in terms of the fact that there's just this little plastic mount here, and this pretty much just slides into place and has a locking tab on the back end of it. So slides and a nice positive click into place. Seems secure, And I think overall it feels as though this bracket's going to be nice and tight. Now this appears as though it would have the ability to pretty much add a strap of sorts. I'm not sure exactly what the intent is here. I should probably look at the instructions, and I will do so in a minute. And then this one here is quite simple. Oh, actually, look at that. The strap for it is actually right there with it. And then this one here is just a typical handlebar mount. So again, sliding on nicely and clicking into place. This is a little bit firm, but I think that would loosen up just a touch over time. So no big deal. And then, oh man, I mean, it's a little bit awkward right now where it's not on a handlebar. I would suspect that if this was gripping a bar and nice and secure and then sliding the light on, yeah, that's a little bit better. So I just had kind of a little awkwardness to how I was doing it. So again, this is just a typical handlebar mount. And then this, I wonder kind of what you can do with it. I mean, I'm sure this would go on a number of different things, but this to me appears as though you could certainly put this on a helmet. Now that is a little bit different from the BL09. I wonder if this BL09 could be helmet mountable, and it looks like the BL12 certainly can, and that is a huge advantage. Now, for the typical road biker, I don't think you would necessarily need to helmet mount this, but for a mountain biker, in my opinion, that is like a must. You have to imagine going through the woods and it's dark, and if you had this only mounted on your bars, the nature of mountain biking is such that the bars move around a lot as you're avoiding obstacles, and imagine your light doing this the entire time. Well, at the end of it all, your head pretty much stays fixed. So if you could put the light on your head, at least that way when you're turning your head and looking around, the light is staying with you. So I think that is a disadvantage to the BL09. If we cannot get this mounted properly on a helmet, that's going to be a little bit of a downfall here. And then in regards to the BL12, if this can be helmet mounted using this bracket, that is definitely a huge plus. And now finally, before we move on, this is a 1200 lumen output, and on that 1200 lumen output mode can last about 2.5 hours. And now we'll take a look at the BL15, again the largest and heaviest of the lights that I have here today. This has a couple of different mounting options. The first one we're going to look at here is this is pretty much a handlebar mount exclusively. This would go on each side of the handlebars, kind of with your stem in the middle. And then that is kind of nice where it directly centers the light on your bars, puts it right in the middle of your bike. So that is a nice mount. I like this very much. And in terms of the overall functionality, let's see here. Slides into place with a reasonable positive click, and then to remove it, comes right off. So that feels like it's nice and solid and secure. Again, I'll just do it one more time. Good positive click. Absolutely does not move around at all. That is very secure. And then you end up with these little sort of rubberized pieces that go on the inside here. And then you end up with your bar clamps kind of threading on here. And I like that they thread in from the top. That's actually kind of convenient and an easy way to get to it. So overall, it seems like this mount is quite nice and a pretty decent design. And then the other mount here is very similar to the one from the BL12. Interesting. It's different yet almost the same. It's a slightly different shape and slightly different construction, and it looks like the actual mounting point is almost the same but slightly different. It's almost too bad that they're not the same. It would be nice to have the versatility here, but again, that one slides on quite easy. I mean, very easy. Just goes right on with no problem. But again, a good positive click. Now this does seem to have a little bit of movement there and gives you the ability to swivel the light, which is kind of neat. So a versatile clip and clamp in that regard, where you could actually use this as a multi-purpose item, or use this in a number of different ways or on different bikes and really dial in which direction you have the light pointing. Now, I don't think that would work overall incredibly well for mountain biking. It might. I mean, I think this would be great for a road bike or maybe even a kid's bike where they're not going too crazy. But a mountain bike, this might be a little bit on the flimsy side. And in that regard, I think if you were going to bar mount a light on a mountain bike, you'd probably want to go with this clamp instead. Now, in terms of your modes, this is a 4-mode light. This has a maximum output of 2,000 lumens. And you can see here it is a dual headlight. So as I single press, it gets brighter and brighter until it turns off. So first push, that's low, medium, high, and off. So what is the other mode? Do I long press this thing? Is there a long press somewhere in here? How is there 4 modes? 1, 2, 3, off. Long press? No. Double click? No. This is supposed to be a 4-mode light. Come on, Eric, do your research. Get it together. Be prepared. I'll be right back. So the only information I have available to me is what I see online, and that is based on the Amazon store. Now, when I look at the actual instructions here on the informational pamphlet on the inside, it has basically no information on how to change the modes. Now, online it says that is a what they call 1 touch and 4 lighting mode. And again, they're saying here low, medium, high, and strobe. So low, medium, high. How do I get to the strobe? Medium, high. Double press? Nope. Long press, holding it down. Oh, there you go. A real long press. So that's what it is. I mean, 1, 2, 3. 3-second long press gets you into the strobe. So low, medium, high. 3-second long press, and that is the strobe. So interesting. And whether you're in the low, medium, or high mode, you will see that both LEDs are illuminated, and again, the high mode being a 2,000 lumen overall output. Now, the one benefit that I see is a good benefit over the other 2 lights. This does appear to have up to a 4-hour runtime on the high mode. So a 4-hour runtime on high is pretty sweet. Now, taking a quick look at the beam, you will see that on the high mode here, it does have a defined hotspot and a reasonable overall flood, but more so than the other lights, this has a really high defined hotspot in the middle. So I don't know how that would be specifically for actually seeing up close, but where this would be a great light to illuminate the distance and kind of see off ahead of you, and then having that nice flood down where you're actually riding. I could see that being an excellent advantage for this light. Another thing worth noting is it is interesting. You end up with sort of your battery levels on the back here. So when you turn it on, it does illuminate. So you'll have your high battery, medium battery, low battery. And then when this gets pretty much out of juice, it will start to flash to warn you and let you know that it is running low on battery. And then another thing, just to finalize my thoughts, is as you cycle through, a single press goes through all the modes, all the way around, all the different powers, minus that strobe, and then a final press turning it off when you're all the way through the cycle. Now, each one of these lights are quite easy to charge, and 2 out of the 3 have indicator lights. Here you'll see the BL15, when you plug it in, does have a red light indicating that it's charging, and it will turn green when it's complete. In a similar fashion, the BL12 also has a red indicator light when it is charging, but it does have a separate green indicator light which will be illuminated when it is complete. Now, on the BL09, we do have a little bit of a problem here. You'll see I'm trying to plug this light into the brick directly and plugging it in onto a wall socket. Now, this does not necessarily work where the mount gets in the way. So what you need to do is use that cord, and you plug in the cord adapter to the brick and also to the light, and it works just fine. You could conceivably plug this light directly into a USB port on a computer, and it would work okay. So something that I don't talk about too much on my channel, and I don't know, maybe I should, but in a what I'll call former life, I used to be a very avid mountain biker, and unfortunately I don't have as much time as I would like to continue to get out and bike. And at this point my bikes are a little bit older, but they're still pretty sweet. So, you know, I've always been into mountain biking, and I had a road bike for a while and got into it for quite a bit, but unfortunately, like I said, just didn't have the time. So I sold the road bike, but I still have all of my mountain bikes, and my son is old enough that I'm starting to ride with him now, and I'm kind of getting back into it. So I'm hoping that he will take to it quite well, and I will have a sort of, I'd say, middle-aged rebirth of mountain biking. So anyway, here I have the BL09. I'm kind of playing with mounting it here, and I can definitely get it nice and comfortable on my bike, kind of off to one side. Now, if I wanted to, I'd say put this on the middle, it's going to be in a little bit of conflict. Now, I do have a drop bar design here. These are not flat bars, but I don't know. I mean, at least in my day of riding, I started with flat bars, which were all the rage, and then they went to these drop bars, and these days now, who the hell knows what's in. So I don't know. I have drop bars. I like them. They're comfortable for me. I mean, I could certainly put this on a bit of an angle and try to position it, and clicking the light on here, I'm sure I could get this to a pretty nice overall position and angle. So this is going to work pretty well here. It feels reasonably secure. I think it's something that's going to work out pretty well for me. Now, I'm going to try to mount all of these up right now and get me to the point where I can actually go outside and ride around with all three of these. So I am going to, for this example, move this out of the way just for a minute here while I get the other lights mounted up. But this will work reasonably well towards the middle of the bars, and I can get it relatively centered on my front tire. So the BL09 seems to work very well overall with these drop bars. Now, continuing forward, this is the mount for the BL15. And so this is a sticky back adhesive sort of rubber grippy thing that I believe should go on the inside of this mount. So I am going to get this as well and positioned and centered in here as I can, hopefully nicely, and that should help with the grip on the handlebars. And then this is to be basically centered on the middle here with a gap for the stem. So again, I'm just getting this sort of grippy thing laid in here, and again, just the adhesive into place nicely, and hopefully in a way that it's going to help to grip the bars. So basically two sides here, pretty straightforward. This just comes with a little bit of adhesive backing, and then peeling that off, and then just taking a minute to get it in here nice and straight and even, and then well adhered, centered, and all that stuff. You know, sometimes that makes the difference, just taking your time to get it right, and that looks very good. And then from the actual mounting perspective, this is pretty straightforward. If this is going to fit, it will go over like this, and it looks like it's going to fit very nicely. I mean, that is just perfect with my given setup. And then these, again, just attaching from the top, which I like. It seems as though this is just like as thick as you could possibly go. Hopefully these are going to grab, and it feels like it is. And I believe these are threading. Yes, these are threading in and gripping nice and tight. So threading down. That seems to be perfect. And that is snugging up nicely. So let's get the actual light now. So again, here, this BL15 mounts in from this side here. Ooh, careful now. Sliding it into place. Uh-oh. A little bit of a conflict here, which means I have it pointed down too far. Let's see. I got a bit of a clearance issue going on right now with the bolts on the front of my stem. And that is a shame because I think if I put the light on, oh man, this actually needs to go down more, which is going to help me with my clearance issue. So this might actually work out okay. So loosening these up and angling down now. Sliding that light back. That did just click into place. And I do have a bit of a conflict. I feel like I want this light to be up a little bit more. And unfortunately, this right now is hitting. And that's not ideal. So, I don't know. We'll see. This is not great. And even worse, I mean, I have, well, no, my cables do clear this. But unfortunately, I wish this light was able to go up a little more. But I am definitely having some clearance issues. Now, finally, moving forward with the BL12. Again, where I want to utilize all these lights for my test. Again, I'm going to just try to get this in towards the middle. And I can tell you already with this mount, this handlebar is much too girthy by like a long shot. Like a significant long shot. Unfortunately, that means that the only place that this can go handlebar mounted is out here, more towards the outside. And I'm going to do my best to get this mounted in a position where I can actually use the light to see. So in terms of the actual handlebar mounting, this is not ideal for a mountain bike. I can tell you that just with what I know, at least from when I was more into biking, that typically the bars on a road bike are thinner. For the most part, I mean, they have some diameters that are similar. So here I have it on pretty good to start. Let's get this light into place. Clicking into place here and trying to get it relatively adjusted. Now it seems as though this is going to be pretty well straight in front of the bars, kind of offset to the left by a little bit in terms of like the center of my direction. The light is going to be offset. It is not going to be necessarily centered. I can probably futz with it a little bit and try to get it a little bit better centered. But overall, the mountain bike application here is not ideal simply because of the thicker bars. If you had thinner bars, yeah, sure, it would work, but I don't know. I mean, most people I know, at least back when I was riding a lot, had slightly thicker bars on the mountain bike. So that is going to be just a touch offset from center, which is not ideal, but it will certainly work. All right, so now for the BL12, which is the only one I think I can get actually helmet mounted on here. I am going to take a minute and try to get this onto my helmet. Now, I'm a little bit suspect about how this is going to go because I do have sort of like a, I don't know what you'd call this, like a skating style or like a BMX style helmet. I don't know. You know, different people have different types of helmets anyway, so you'd think you'd want to create a system that would work pretty much for any of them. Now, I need to decide, do I go right on the top and angle it down? That's kind of what I'm thinking, versus on the front and then angling it forward. That may work, but it looks kind of suspect to me. I don't know. Let's give that a go. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right here. No, you know, I'm going to go directly on the top because I do plan on filming a ride with you right now in a little bit. And I'm going to mount my GoPro to the front of this so that you get some footage. So let me go on the top of this and see if I can get this BL12 on the top of my helmet. Okay, so good news is this seems to go on here quite well overall. It seems as though if you had a helmet with decent sized vents, no matter what, it's going to go on there. And I mean, that is very, very snug. So already that's a great sign. I'm happy with that. And again, I do think this may be semi-interchangeable with GoPro style hardware. So let me get the actual BL12 mounted up here and let's see how it looks. And so now just mounting the light to the helmet, looks like that's going to work out very nicely, and you definitely have the ability to adjust this wherever you want. So I think for a mountain biking application, this is going to work quite well. I could see me totally wearing this, and it's certainly not heavy. It's not going to bog me down, and it's easy to access, and that way when I'm riding, I have light exactly where I need it. So overall, this is pretty darn nice.